Welcome in, K-Bro. How are you, sir?
How's your golf game been recently, Jim?
I have only played twice in 6 months, and I'm gonna be honest with you, shockingly better than I could have ever imagined. Um, I was. It's shocking because it's not that good anyway. But 40s, baby, in the 40s.
Good for you. Good for you. So I snuck into the Circle City over the weekend. Adam Pinkster, who you may know from Wish TV, got married, and I was invited to the wedding. Megan Seal. So give a shout out to them. Everything went well. They had it at one of those theaters downtown. Stayed at the Courtyard. Had a nice, beautiful view of Victory Field, and right by the NCAA offices. Took a little walk by the canals there, and it was a fun, quick weekend in Indianapolis last weekend, but I kept it kind of low key, Jim. I didn't tell you, so I apologize.
It's okay. I'm used to it. I'm used to being left out. Did you jump out of a cake or anything?
No, and I didn't even have time for karaoke, unfortunately. But it was a good, you know what I mean.
Presses.
Yeah, it was a good little weekend, and it was a little chilly that Friday night, but the weather got nicer as the weekend went along, and like I said, it was interesting walking around the NCAA building, knowing that that organization right now is in a perilous state, shall we say, with the changes going on with NIL and everything.
I was talking about that with Mike DeCourcy yesterday, as a matter of fact, and how, and he's adamant that the regime of Mark Emmert, how they just absolutely. He asked which was a more, what's the word I'm looking for? Incompetent administration, Mark Emmert or that of what's his name with the Pac-12?
Larry Scott.
Yeah,
Larry Scott, and then I forget who was after Larry Scott as well, but it really began in the Pac-12 with Larry Scott. Well, listen, I do think that Charlie Baker is, at least sounds like he's open to change. Mark Emmert was not, and Mark Emmert had some pressure on him on the member institutions at the time as well. But their fight of amateurism, was a slow death in the courts, and I think they probably, in retrospect, tried to hold on to it too long instead of coming up with a solution that would have been, created a far more structure than what we have right now, which is basically disorganized chaos in the NIL world. But I think certainly you look at the player movement now, and it certainly benefited Indiana yesterday. I know a lot of people are very excited about the new transfer addition, Mr. Omar Ballo, and what's the temperature in Bloomington right now in regards to that. And I know Mike Woodson, I guess last month was taking a lot of heat for losing Liam McNeely. Are things is he forgiven for this, or does he still have work to do, you think?
I'll say the same thing that I always say to any question like this: winning cures everything.
Yeah.
If he's able to win, that will be easily forgotten. And maybe worthy of being forgotten, because especially if McNeely's a one and done. Or if, as long as he's able to replace the shooting ability, which there are still guys out there that can probably bring that same shooting ability, but with college experience. And I that's just, to me, I think Indiana is just going to build there from now on. They will most definitely still bring in guys like the Trent Sisleys of the world, and Malachi Moreno, Braylon Mullins, the young talent from the state. They'll still go after those guys. But other than that, it's straight to the portal. Why would you not? I mean, I think it would be malpractice not to. If you can go get a guy who is experienced doing exactly what you need, give me the experienced guy every time.
Yeah, well, a lot of coaches talk about getting old and staying old, and I think certainly that is a situation right now. What the portal is good for is that you can plug and play guys. I do think the issue though is sometimes it's like if you only have a guy for 1 year, are you building an established core? And certainly we saw the success upstate that Matt Pater had with that. But now he loses Zach Edey, right? Who's
Yeah,
who's
we've
a
seen him have success when he has this once in a generational type of monster player.
yeah.
That's gone, and he's not going to have that again. He may have another 7-footer, but there's a difference. A lot of people have 7-footers,
Yeah.
but Zach Edey was just not a 7-footer. He was very, 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 very different.
Well, and Carson Edwards got him to Elite Eight too, but I do think that, certainly in the Big Ten, if you take a look at it now, I mean, Tom Izzo's not getting any younger. I think it's, ripe for the pickings here, but certainly you add the West Coast teams, and that will be interesting to see what dynamic they add or how competitive they are in the league. But I would think for them, a lot of travel too, right, Jim? And that's going to affect them. I think some of these road trips are not going to be easy as well. So it'll be fascinating to see. And certainly down here in the SEC, we'll have Oklahoma and Texas joining the league as well. These expanded conferences and how it's going to impact the competitive balances of the league. But right now, I think with Edey leaving Purdue, the Big Ten is going to be wide open next season. Don't you think so?
Yeah, I've talked about that very thing, that for a few years going into it, each year we knew who the team or teams were going to be to watch. A couple years ago it was Indiana and Purdue and Illinois maybe. Then the last few years it's been Purdue and, you can stop right there, but Purdue and Illinois. Illinois has been up there, Michigan State, but Illinois has been up there knocking on the door. And is this Brad Underwood's time to kind of get over that hump? Oh man, whack.
Yeah.
Can't believe I said that. Wrap the knuckles. But Brad Underwood has been knocking on the door to get a Big Ten title. And he's always done well in the portal on replacing what he loses. So we'll see what Illinois can get done. I'll tell you another team not to overlook is Ohio State and Diebler. They land Bradshaw from Kentucky. And the run that they went on at the end of the Big Ten season after Ohio State parted with Chris Holtmann, it's still surprising, but a successful run. And it kind of seems that hasn't stopped.
Yeah, and hey, let's not forget Dusty Maine out at Michigan. What kind of energy is he going to infuse, and are some of those FAU players going to follow him and end up going up there? That's going to be fascinating to watch as well. It should be.
It's funny you bring that up because I noticed yesterday that both John L. Davis and Golden are still in the portal.
Yeah, and that will be interesting to watch and to see what Dusty does up there as well in a Big Ten school that you got to think that it was a little surprising to me because I thought that if he was going to hold out for a Big Ten school, it would be his alma mater, and who knows how that will play out down the road. But the fact that he's in the Big Ten at Michigan, he probably felt like that was the best situation for him. Maybe a better fit than Louisville for him and for his family, and decided to go on that. And speaking of coaching changes, because you brought up Underwood, a little surprised with the hire of Mark Pope. I watched his press conference last night, and it went over. I thought it went over pretty well, and it's interesting for Mitch Barnhart. It's an interesting hire because I think you're going back to a guy who obviously played at Kentucky on the 1996 national title game, and putting a little emphasis on the front of the jersey instead of the back of the jersey, which you had with John Calipari and all these one and dones and stuff. I think the one thing about Mark Pope is he's going to bring that back, and maybe he brings back the Kentucky-Indiana rivalry as well.
Yeah, we'll see. Kentucky fans definitely were lukewarm on that. But again, all that matters is winning.
Exactly.
You can let people who think they know more than they do moan and groan, but
He's going to build. I think he's going to build a foundation there. I think he's going to build something that's going to be a lot more sustainable than what Cal had at the end, the last 9 years after their last Final Four. That's my opinion.
We shall see. But yeah, there's still lots of targets out there. Like for Indiana, Connor Esigian, apparently going to be visiting today, Indiana, that is. Former Indiana player, East Noble, had a good breakout season as a freshman. His numbers fell off as a sophomore. And so but that's always good to have on your bench. Someone who was proven. You talked about get older, stay older. He's got a couple of years under his belt, especially in the Big Ten. So it's not like he would be getting used to something that he didn't already know. Farrell Payne, a big guy from Minnesota. He is on a visit. I think that I said his visit has already happened. Or no, or is it coming up? Yeah, that happened over the weekend. It's hard to keep up with all this stuff. You've got Elijah Malone, another big man. That's the only fear for Indiana fans. All right, they land Ballo. You've got Malik Renew. They're going to bring in another big without question, which is fine, except for is Indiana going to run the 3 out, 2 in again, which there's not a team that I've seen. There was no team at the NCAA Final Four that ran that. I mean, you can say Purdue may be a hybrid if you're counting Trey Kaufman-Renn because he started working inside more, but he's not really a big. And so it's going to be interesting to see how the offense manifests itself.
Well, by big, are you saying size or are you saying skill set?
But
Kaufman-Renn is a big guy. He's like 6'7", 6'8". I mean, he's,
What do you? Yeah, I'm talking about skill set.
Yeah. The other thing that's fascinating about Trey Kaufman-Renn, it's kind of interesting watching him in the tournament. Is remember during the pandemic, we went up to Noblesville and we watched him, and he was this kind of like high flying transition guy and blocking shots. He's become kind of a plodding player at Purdue. He looks like he's gained a lot of weight in his like lower body and so forth, and he just doesn't look like the same explosive player that I think we saw and that we thought that he could be when he was the Indiana Gatorade Player of the Year. It's still productive, obviously, and kind of helped Purdue on that run. But I'm curious your thoughts, and if you take that trip down memory lane with him and Logan Duncombe, also we watched him play also.
Yeah, and that's back in the AAU days where guys are younger, they are lighter, they're used to running more, and not having that weight on you makes a difference as well. And when you don't have it, it's kind of hard to be a post-up player if you don't have that. You go up against guys who can just hip check you into the second row. So you gaining that weight and playing against guys. Hell, like I'm sure there at times he was up against Edey in practice. So that helps as well.
Yeah, no question. But Sellersburg kid, Southern Indiana kid. I know that we all thought at the time that IU had a good shot, and unfortunately did not work out for them. But onward and upward for Indiana, and it sounds like they're doing some good things in the portal.
So yeah, the one thing that I think Indiana fans are going to wonder about is not wonder, but I've said this and it sounds harsh. It's not meant to be. It's just is what it is. Anthony Leal and Trey Galloway and Gabe Cupps, they're probably not going to see, definitely not the minutes they saw this past season. Because if they are, then you're not much better than you were last season. You've got to increase the talent. I think that if you look back at the Final Four, the guards in that, they were just minus Purdue's, who Purdue has good guard play, but we saw what happened when they went against more athletic guards that would challenge them defensively. They basically were shut down like a. Romney man.
Trey Galloway is an established starting guard, in the Big Ten, and I think he's a useful, and he's got the size where you can kind of throw him on the wing too a little bit. But you're right, they need a point guard. I mean, they need a real quality point guard that can lead, that's dynamic, that's got some scoring ability. That's what they've really been lacking, and that's dependable, right? Because Xavier Johnson had some of those qualities, but was not dependable off the court and had issues. And but that's what they need more than anything. I think they need that point guard. They need a guy that and a dynamic one, a guy that can score, a guy that can set up players, a guy that can defend a little bit, at the head of the defense. And those are hard to find, but I think that's what you need more than anything. And that's what I would be shopping for if I was in Indiana. Really athletic, scoring, complete point guard and a veteran guy. And they're out there. You can find them, but that's what I would shop for.
Well, they've got one coming in Miles Rice from Washington State. The only knock on him is he shot 27% from behind the arc on one made three per game.
Yeah,
now,
you need better shooting.
80+% free throw shooter, though.
Yeah. But you need someone a little more dynamic than that, or a combo guard, just somebody that's gonna, put some fear in you on the perimeter. I think that's what they've been lacking for a number of years, other than Jalen Hood-Schifino, who obviously was a one and done. And someone that was, dependable that way,
and that's somebody that's going to have to find somebody for that 2 spot in replace of Trey Galloway.
Yeah. Well, but I mean, you could play Trey Galloway at the 3 too. It's a 3 guard.
Well, then that's what you have Mackenzie Mbako for.
Yep, that's true, right? And he's coming back. Yep. So yeah, no, I mean, I don't know, or do you tell Trey to just get in the gym and keep shooting? I mean, that's the other thing too. But yeah, you can't have too many guards, basically, and another dynamic combo guard. I mean, this guy Rice, he sounds like he's okay, but if you can upgrade there and get someone even better, I would.
Well, yeah, that's the goal. They're not done. They've got some spots that they can fill. And there's guys that can shoot the ball. Like I said, you've got Connor Sejan. Kanan Carlisle is another one that is expected to potentially commit to Indiana. That's a lot of that is based on hopes by fans, but also him liking certain things, and so that should happen either one way or another soon. Another big thing for Indiana was getting the big man in Ballo, the number one available portal player, to land that. That says a lot that they were able to get him. He canceled a visit to Louisville, canceled an expected visit to Arkansas that was going to follow that. So that was big in being able to lock him down. You've got they've already landed, like I said, the guard from Miles Rice, and Kanan Carlisle is expected to potentially come. You've got Bryson Tucker coming in out of the 2024 class. So they're really starting to put the pieces together. And if they can get this roster built the way it needs to be, Mike Woodson should have all the pieces he needs to win next season.
I think the issue is too, though, with the bigs, because if you're going to play, 3 out, 2 in, 2, you're going to have to find another big that's going to kind of buy into the fact that, hey, look, we're going to have a rotation here because you got Renew back. You've got, obviously this, Ballo. So you're going to have a guy that, might be, be willing to sacrifice a little bit and stuff. And you could, the other thing too is, I mean, you could play Mbako at the 4 too, you know what I mean? And obviously, like you said, and play more 4 and 1 out as well, and kind of have that flexibility, and I think Mike should do that probably more, but we'll see how that goes. That comes in the coming weeks as well.
Hello, everybody. Jim Coyle with Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and thank you for enjoying our content and videos. And make sure you hit that subscribe and notifications toggle so you don't miss out on anything, whether it's Indiana Hoosiers, the Boilers, the Colts, the Pacers, Indiana high school action, whatever is happening in sports. We're trying to bring it all to you, and make sure you don't miss out on a thing. Again, hit the subscribe button for us. Helps us out a ton. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much.